Water, tea, or instant
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Rotary Club LaGrange. We are so glad to have you all with us. Thank you for taking time to be here. It is a tremendous honor to have President Cabrera with us today. We're looking forward to hearing from you, and we appreciate so many of our Georgia Tech friends for coming to join us today. So, Georgia Tech is just such a valuable asset, not only in our state, but around the world. So it's really an honor to have you with us. So we're going to start with an invocation, and then we're going to say the pledge and have some announcements, then we'll move to our program. But First, I'm going to ask Leon Childs, if you would, please lead us in invocation.
Thank you, President Tripp. Everyone, please keep our mayor and his family in your prayers at this time, please. Bow your heads. O Lord, please instruct us and teach us in the way that we should go. Please counsel us with your loving eye upon us at all times. Let our aims meet the direction that you have aligned for our lives. Let our plans be orchestrated by you, Father. Let your will be done in our lives. We thank you for waking us up this morning. We thank you for taking care of our families. And we thank you for being in good sound mind and strength as we prepare for the day. In your name we pray, Almighty Father. Amen.
Thank you, Leon. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. So again, we are fortunate to have a number of guests. There's a high level of interest in our program today. I'm going to ask Kelsey if she would please introduce our guest.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest. Our first guest is Andy Fritchley, Kimball Carter, Norm Williams, Tommy and Marcine Gresham, Lou Rackman, Tom Guffin, Joe Davidson, Rick Selby, Derek Woodham, James Goodland, Hank Hensler, Heather Connerkamp, Donna Myers, Richard Freeman, Pat Malone, Ralph Howard, Sam Craig, Patrick Cruz, Bert Reeves, Isabel Knight, Bill and Andrea Lovejoy, Jay and Ashley Anderson, Jim Pennybaker, Tom Murphy, Janet Kinnard, Katie Crow, and lastly, Matt Reese. Welcome.
Quickly before Kelsey leaves, you all know, or at least our members know, we're going to be at Oak Fusky Center next week. We're not going to be here. So please, if you haven't done so, let her know. You can stop her, or send her an email and let her know if you're going to be there. We have an RSVP camp this afternoon. So, but again, thank you, Kelsey. So you all of our guests are special, and we're glad to have you with us. We have a couple guests I want to point out. Mr. Tommy and Miss Marcine Gresham, a longtime community member, longtime president of the Callaway Foundation, and he was president of Rotary in 1980 and 81. So we're so glad to have you two with us. I know you're big Georgia Tech supporters. So Tommy hasn't worked at Callaway Foundation in 21 years. And I can tell you the folks that work with him love him dearly. They talk about him regularly. He set a bar that's really, I can't reach, so, but he is somebody that is certainly revered in our office and in the community. We have some birthdays I wanted to point out. First of all, Jeff Lucan is February 4th, Lynn Morgan, February 9th, so we wish him happy birthday. We have some club member anniversaries. Glad to have such long longevity in the club. So Trey Long has been with us 10 years, and certainly really made an impact in a short amount of time. Shirley Pennebaker has been with us 10 years. Dr. Ken Gordon has been with us 14 years. Dr. George Henry, 27 years. And Dr. Sandy Simmons, 36 years. So congratulations and thank you all. So we have a couple of wedding anniversaries this week. First of all, Rex Campbell and Casey have been married 12 years. And then Jake Jones, Jake, heads up, anniversary this week. 19 years married to Liz, so congratulations. I do have a couple of announcements on behalf of the club that I want to make. First of all, I want to ask Carrie Bice, Carrie, if you would come up and make a really special presentation on behalf of the club.
The
The presentation of the Paul Harris Fellow recognition is the Rotary Foundation's way of expressing its appreciation for a substantial contribution to its humanitarian and educational programs. It is named for Rotary's founder, a Chicago lawyer, who started our organization with 3 business associates in 1905. A world of peace and goodwill comes closer to reality today as Jim Killebrew becomes a Paul Harris Fellow +6. Jim's gift to the Rotary Foundation's educational and humanitarian programs is a commitment to peace and to a better life for people that Jim and the membership of this club will most likely never meet. It is because of gifts such as this that the Rotary Foundation can carry out an array of programs that achieve beneficial changes in our world, improve living conditions, increased food production, better education, wider availability of treatment and rehabilitation for the sick and disabled, new channels for the flow of international understanding, and brighter hopes for peace. Jim is part of a remarkable company of persons worldwide by being a Paul Harris Fellow. They're recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding, a goal of Rotarians all over the world and one that Jim clearly shares. Please rise and join me as Jim comes up and recognizing our newest Paul Harris Fellow. Bless the Jim Fellow.
The big reason this happens is, you may know something I said here 2 or 3 months ago. The easiest way for me to support is Polio Plus, because of my own childhood memories of the fear that we lived with, knowing that disaster could happen next week. Thank you very much. I've been a member of the club since 1982, so thank you for your faithful service and your generosity toward Rotary. Quick Barbara update. Barbara Hennigan, one of our, we're all key, but let's face it, she's more key than me or anybody else that served before. She just does so many behind the scenes things for Rotary. But she had good surgery last week. She was in the hospital 6 days, and her daughter was with her the whole time. It sounds like surgery went well. She's up on a walker. She's hoping to move to a cane soon. So she thanks you for your prayers and calls and texts. And she just said she really appreciates and loves her Rotary family. And she would want me to tell you that those buckets on your table are for Alzheimer's Research Trust. So change, dollars, whatever you have, please consider supporting that. What else? Let's check the time. Okay, a couple of happy dollars. Anybody have a happy dollar to share really quickly?
I'm gonna owe you one.
Okay.
So it's really a very brief announcement. Troop Certified Literate Community Program, March 11th, is having its annual literary thing.
Everybody saw he was in the hole for about.
Annual literary thing. I would love for Rotary to have a team of 3 well-read individuals. If you're willing to be on that team, please see me afterwards. I'm willing to sponsor the team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of announcements for LSPA. We have a really busy week. First, this Sunday, we have a taste of storytelling that will be at the LaGrange Memorial Library. We have Randy Nixon, Raylene Carter from our very own group here that will be there. It's at 2 o'clock and it's a free event, so we hope you can come. And then next Wednesday, Valentine's Day, if you don't have plans, or if you do and you want to change them, and you'd like to see dinner and a show, at LSPA, it's $50 a head, and then lots of entertainment, food's included, and that will start at 7:30. And then next, and it's selling out quickly, the following week, the 22nd and 25th, we have Into the Woods at LSPA, so if you want to get tickets, you better get those quickly. So, thank you.
Last but not least, Wednesday, she just said, is Valentine's Day, and it's celebration for priests. Kidding. Just kidding. But nonetheless, I won't be in Rotary because I have 3 masses on Ash Wednesday. It's 9 a.m., 12 noon at Warm Springs, and then the 6 o'clock also at LaGrange. So all Christians celebrate Lent. It's a special Valentine's Day. It doesn't always happen with Ash Wednesday, but it's God's heart, is the human heart. So if you want to renew your faith, come to church. You don't, or celebrate it somehow. Celebrate Ash Wednesday in the midst of Valentine's Day. God bless you.
Thank you.
Well, my timing was off because I need an IOU too. So I went after you. Oh, there he comes. Okay. I'm going to be indebted to you.
Yeah, you get a donation.
Just a very quick reminder to put on your calendar for February the 28th at 11 a.m. We have a new member orientation. And since we have not done one in a while, we're inviting everyone that's a member of Rotary to attend, because even when you became a new member, you might not have been able to attend an orientation. Should be really good. We'll have all the board members there. So 11 a.m. just down the hall, February 28th.
Thank you, Ron. So again, there's a lot of excitement about the program today. Really grateful to have our speaker with us. I'm going to ask the best future president in the history of our organization to come up and give the introduction. Connie?
Thank you, Trip. He's just counting down the days. Don, it's all fabulous. Well, I'm so excited. I feel like I should leave the mics on or something, but I can't sing. So, I'm very excited to introduce to you Dr. Cabrera, the 12th president of the Georgia Institute of Technology. As one of America's leading research universities, Georgia Tech serves nearly 48,000 students through top-ranked graduate and undergraduate programs ranging from engineering and science to business, computing, design, and liberal arts. Georgia Tech received $1.45 billion in annual research awards. Under Dr. Cabrera's leadership, more than 5,700 members of the Georgia Tech community contributed to a new 10-year strategic plan that launched in November of 2020. This plan is grounded on a new mission statement that reaffirms Tech's commitment to developing leaders who advance technology and improve the human condition. As president during COVID, Dr. Cabrera led Tech through one of the most critical times in its history to break records in student applications and enrollment, graduation rates, and research awards. Today, Georgia Tech is one of the fastest growing and most research-intensive universities in the nation. Dr. Cabrera came to Georgia Tech on September 1st, 2019, after serving for 7 years as president of the George Mason University in Virginia. During his presidency, GMU joined the top tier of research universities in the Carnegie classification and was the fastest growing institution in the state. Before leading GMU, Dr. Cabrera was president of the Thunderbird School of Global Management, which is now part of Arizona State University, and the dean of IE Business School in Madrid. As a business educator, Dr. Cabrera has played a key role in advancing professional ethics, internationalization, and corporate social responsibility. In 2007, while serving as a senior advisor to the United Nations Global Compact, he was the lead author of Principles for Responsible Management Education. This United Nations supported initiative advances sustainable development through management education and has been adopted by more than 800 schools around the world. Dr. Cabrera is also a co-founder of the University Global Coalition, a global network of universities working in partnership with the United Nations in support of its sustainable development goals. Dr. Cabrera has been named a Young Global Leader by the World Economic Forum, a Star of Europe by Bloomberg Business Week, a Henry Crown Fellow by the Aspen Institute, and a Great Immigrant by the Carnegie Corporation of New York. He's received honorary degrees from Miami-Dade College and Polytechnic University of Madrid. Dr. Cabrera earned his MA and PhD in psychology and cognitive science from Georgia Tech, which he attended as a Fulbright Scholar. He also holds a BS and an MS in computer and electrical engineering from Polytechnic University of Madrid. His academic publications have been cited thousands of times, and he has been featured or quoted in leading media around the world. Dr. Cabrera is married to management scholar and Georgia Tech classmate Elizabeth. Their son is a Georgia Tech graduate and currently a PhD student at Carnegie Mellon University. Their daughter is a graduate of Harvard University. Dr. Cabrera is the first native of Spain to serve as president of an American university, and it is my honor to welcome him as our guest speaker today.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a very kind introduction and Trip and the rest of you. Thank you so much for inviting me and to tell you a little bit about what's happening at your favorite Institute of Technology. I take this presentation almost as a shareholder meeting because you own Georgia Tech. I see lots of proud alums and I love it. Love to be surrounded by proud Georgia Tech alumni. But what happens at Georgia Tech should be of importance to all of you because you are all. I always tell my colleagues at Georgia Tech, we only have one shareholder and one owner, and that is the citizens of the state of Georgia. And that's everything we do, every decision that we make is with that in mind. So I'm delighted that you invited me. Delighted to share what's happening at Georgia Tech and hopefully giving you a sense for why what we're doing matters so much for the future of the state. I want to wish you a very happy centennial. This is fantastic. 100 years of the existence of this club, and in a way we have a lot in common. I mean, Georgia Tech is a little older than you, not that much older, but also grounded on the notion of service. The motto of Georgia Tech is progress and service. And the history, which is known to some of you, but maybe not all of you, is that Georgia Tech was an idea that surfaced in the state right after the Civil War, when a group of leaders in the South were thinking, how do we modernize the economy in the South? How do we industrialize? A group of leaders really went up north to explore how the Northeast had industrialized. They came back with the idea that if we want to modernize this place, we need a good school of engineers. They had visited what at the time was called the Boston School of Technology, now it's MIT, and they looked at others and they came back and said, we need a place of this nature. So when Georgia Tech was created was in 1885. In just a few decades, all of a sudden Georgia Tech became the most important technological university in the Southeast. In a few more decades, it became really one of the most important technological universities in the nation. And I would argue that today, Georgia Tech is a hub of technology and innovation in the world. As you've heard, and you can tell by my accent, I did not grow up in Georgia, but I am one of the many now younger students who grow up all over the world who dream of having a chance at studying in one of America's great universities. I was one of those fortunate young men that got a chance through a Fulbright scholarship, and I landed at Georgia Tech. That was the first time I ever set foot in this country was to go to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was the reason why I came to Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech delivered the goods. I got my master's, my PhD, my wife, Beth, who grew up in Florence, Alabama. In fact, driving through your beautiful town today, for some reason, it just reminds me of Florence. I don't know how many of you have been there. But it also changed my life in amazing ways. Nothing that has happened in my life, in my career, would have happened without the opportunities that I got at Georgia Tech. So the job that I have now is very personal. Then the fact that my son, our son, years later, so my wife has her 2 graduate degrees, I have my 2 graduate degrees from Georgia Tech, and then our son later decided to come to Georgia Tech, fell in love with a girl at Georgia Tech, and now they're engaged. So I think this Georgia Tech connection with the family continues. So this is really a very important job for me. It's more than a job. I mean, it is really a calling. I'm a grateful product of Georgia Tech. And I bring you great news because what's happening at your Institute of Technology is nothing but remarkable. Let me put things in perspective. The last 5 years have been rough in American higher education in terms of just not forget about the politics of the last year, which have been quite interesting. Just in terms of numbers of students, the demographics in the nation are such that kids who are now reaching college age have been in the decline for the last. So for the last 5 years, enrollments in most universities in the country has been going down. Most universities in Georgia, of the 26 public universities that we have, virtually 20 of them have been struggling to find students to fill their classrooms, to keep the lights on. And that's been the norm all throughout the country. And I paint that picture to show how remarkable it is what has happened at Georgia Tech. I arrived, as you heard, in 2019. At that time, Georgia Tech had received for that year about 33,000 applications, which was an all-time record. And when I arrived, people said, well, that was an unusual year, and maybe it was affected because we changed this thing in the applications. But the next year, we had another record. The next year, we had another record. And we went basically, this year, we closed the application cycle just shy of 60,000 applicants. 60, so from 33-ish to 60 within four and a half years. It's pretty darn crazy. And that's a record not just for Georgia Tech, it's a record for the state. No other university had ever received that kind of demand. And this is demand from all over. It's from every corner of our state, from every state in the nation, and also international students who want to study at Georgia Tech. We are making room for more students. And I always share with my colleagues, it's our obligation. We're a public university. So we need to try to serve as many students as we can. So we used to accept about, our entering class was about 3,000 students. This year will be 3,800, and next year will be 4,000. So that's a major, but our capacity is growing like this, and applications are growing like that. See, that's why I didn't need a PowerPoint. See, our capacity grows like this. Applications are growing much, much faster. The outcome of that is super hard to get. So our alums were still, some of them scarred by the Georgia Tech experience. They don't say I graduated. They say I got out. At the time, it was not too difficult to get in. Not everybody got in, but it was not too difficult. But it was very hard to get out. In fact, when we showed up the first year, the first day, the convocation, the provost would subject us to a very intimidating look to your left, look to your right, point one of you is going to finish this. Thank you very much. I feel very welcome. But it's now the opposite. It's super hard to get in. But the students that we're recruiting and we are enrolling are so extraordinary that we have one of the highest graduation rates in the nation. We're very, very proud of that. And the students that we're admitting are really, really extraordinary because of that demand for an education. Now, the result of this is that Georgia Tech now is the third most selective public university in the country. And that was last year's numbers. It is possible that we now maybe even the most selective public university in the country, which is quite remarkable. And it's not our goal. I always remind everybody, we don't measure our success for how many rejection letters we send. We measure our success by how many people we help, how many young people we help grow and do well. But because we have limited capacity, that's the outcome of that. We're super selective and we're attracting some of the very best students anywhere. That has big implications. It has also a side implication, which occasionally there are remarkable students who may not get in, and I do get the upset calls sometimes for alums and others. The positive outcome of this is that because we have some of the best students, guess what? The top companies in the country and in the world want those students, and many of them are moving to our state, sometimes even across the street from Georgia Tech, because they want to recruit those students. So in the last few years, if you look at the new buildings across the connector from campus, all that tech square, that is unbelievable how it has changed. Now you see Google, a whole tower on 12th Street. You see Cisco right across in the Coda building. You see Accenture, you see NCR, Norfolk Southern, Microsoft in Atlantic Station, and then in other parts of the state too. Hyundai, which is opening an absolutely gigantic factory near Savannah. Those of you who travel in that part of the state from the interstate for miles, you see the cranes. I mean, that thing is going to be enormous. It's going to be one of the biggest electric vehicle manufacturing plants anywhere. When you talk to them, why did you choose Georgia? They'll say, well, there are several factors. We want a good port where we can ship parts in and out and ship cars. We want a good airport so we can go, and we want to be close to a great university where we can recruit some of the best talent. So the impact of Georgia Tech and our ability to attract some of the best talent matters a huge deal for the future of the state economy, because it's our biggest magnet of talent, biggest producer of talent, and that's what brings all those companies to want to invest here. The other piece that is very unique about Georgia Tech, and I have to point out, and I know you've had my friend and boss, the Chancellor of the University System, Sonny Perdue, I think spoke here recently. And this is something he always tells us. He's absolutely right, and I'm so glad to hear him say this. The beauty of our system of universities is that we have 26 very different universities, each of them delivering a different kind of value. Georgia Tech delivers a unique kind of value to the state. One is through what I just shared with you. The other one is we are your biggest research university, your biggest research university. You heard the data in the introduction. This past year, but I'll put it in context. This past year, we brought in about $1.5 billion worth of research dollars. These are grants that our faculty compete with other great faculty from other universities, and they get grants from the Department of Energy, from NIH, from NSF, from the Department of Defense, from all the federal agencies. These are dollars that we all pay into the federal budget, and a big chunk of that comes back to Georgia to these grants. Our total budget is about $2.5 billion. That means that more than half of the Georgia Tech budget is research. That is very, very unusual in any other university. Where does that put us nationally? Well, interestingly, there are only 20 plus universities in the country that bring in over $1 billion in research. 20 plus. Only one in that list does not have a medical school, and that is Georgia Tech. So it's very, very difficult to be one of the top, because medical research draws about 1/3 of all federal investments in research go to medical research. So without that, we're still on the top. We surpassed MIT about 2 years ago. For all of those in the room who went to Athens to college, and you have had to endure your bragging about your 2 national championships. Congratulations. Here's our consolation prize. Is our two national championships. Is like we have become now for 2 years in a row the #1 research university in the country without a medical school. We have surpassed MIT. Thank you. We'll try to fix football too, but in the meantime, this is what we celebrate. So we surpassed MIT. Now seriously, we surpassed MIT about 2 years ago, and the gap it was always MIT, Georgia Tech, MIT. That's been all along. Now we're ahead of them, and the gap is growing. Why does that matter? Well, first of all, research, you need to have critical mass. Some of the equipment in the labs, the sophisticated labs that we have at Georgia Tech for nanotechnology, for microelectronics, in biotechnology, it requires a lot of research to be able to sustain those. So we have some of the very best equipment anywhere in the country. Because we have that equipment and those resources, we bring some of the best researchers to Georgia Tech. All of that research helps solve problems that really matter. So it has a very intrinsic value. For example, the airplanes that the Air Force uses to transport and the Army that they use, all the Hercules planes, which the technology has not changed much for a few decades. Now they incorporate technology to keep our soldiers safe. They incorporate technology that is developed at Georgia Tech. A lot of the radio, radar equipment in a lot of our military is developed at Georgia Tech. Many new treatments for cancer, immunotherapies, vaccine technology, medical devices, lasers, surgical equipment is developed at Georgia Tech. New forms of energy research, all that is done at Georgia Tech. So the research, first of all, is finding solutions to pretty big issues that we face. But second, sometimes those solutions and that technology translates into new startups and new companies that are set up from that research. So when you bring a high concentration of smart people, a lot of resources, good things tend to happen for the economy. And I'll give you one example. A professor in our material science in the School of Materials Science and Engineering just created a new technology for batteries. The anode of the battery, which is apparently a big deal, that helps make batteries, ones that we use in our wearable devices, our cell phones, or cars, it makes those batteries denser, lighter, more powerful. All the things you want in batteries. Well, he just raised over $1 billion in venture capital to build factories. He now has deals with Mercedes and BMW. So the new wave of electric BMWs and Mercedes are going to be carrying batteries made in America with technology that came out of Georgia Tech. I mean, that's why the magic of this innovation works, and that's the unique role that Georgia Tech plays in the state. So we're very proud of what we're doing. We continue to grow. The other piece that you need to know that, and I'm sure that the chancellor shared this, but another reason to be very, very proud, not just of Georgia Tech, but of all of our universities, that for the last 5 years, our universities have not increased tuition by a penny. By a penny. And in fact, 2 years ago, the General Assembly gave us a special appropriation, which allowed us to remove a fee that we charge all students. In the case of Georgia Tech, it was $1,000 a year. So in 5 years, Georgia Tech tuition for in-state students has actually gone down. I am not aware of any other case in the country where that is the case. And we now charge for, in actual nominal dollars, we charge about a 10% less than we used to 5 years ago. If you apply, if you try to discount inflation, it's actually more like a 20-25% less. It's a pretty big deal. So we are fortunate to be in a state when you compare with other states where we invest more public dollars in higher education, and as a consequence of that, we charge relatively lower tuition than other states charge. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that it is very difficult to get into Georgia Tech. It will continue to be difficult, but what we don't want is that it's difficult because it's expensive. And we're working very, very hard to make sure that the smartest kids from the state, no matter what their background, no matter what their ability to pay is, we try to make sure that they find their way to Georgia Tech. So one of the things we're doing, this is a message to the alums. We're raising money. We're in the middle of a campaign. As you know, some of you already are members and have been generous contributors. We're in the middle of a campaign called Transforming Tomorrow. The number one goal that we have is to raise money for scholarships. That's the number one. We also raising money for a bunch of other things, but the number one thing we're raising money for is student scholarships. Again, to make sure that no kid in the state that has talent, that has capacity to do great things, doesn't go to Georgia Tech because they're short a few $1,000s to pay the bill. So that's what we're trying to do. If you haven't visited Georgia Tech and the campus recently, I encourage you to do that. When I arrived back as the president of Georgia Tech, and I asked students, why did you come to Georgia Tech? And they said, I love the beautiful campus. I said, Georgia Tech, beautiful campus, that does not compute. That's not the Georgia Tech I remember. Actually, it is now an absolutely gorgeous campus. It's green, it's an oasis within the city, it's beautiful. So much so that all my one-on-one meetings with my team are walking meetings. I drag them outside and we walk. But the last piece that I'll share with you that we're being very, very intentional about is that our growth, when we have to build another building for the #1 school of industrial engineering, for example, that's actually a new building, is coming up next year. In 2 years will be open. We don't just plan for that building. We try to do it in a way that helps transform the neighborhood around us. And that's what led to Tech Square. That's what's now leading to Science Square, a new biotechnology innovation neighborhood on the south side. And that's what's going to lead very soon to a new district for the Arts Square. So again, I bring good news to you. I thank you. I thank you for everything you do. I do have some apparently we have, I asked my intelligence services to tell me how many students we have currently from this county, and the answer is 41. Yeah. Average SAT score is almost at 1,400. Average high school GPA is 4.16. So we're very proud to have some of your best kids at Georgia Tech. We'll make sure some of them choose to come back and do great things here. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, Trip. Thank you for having me. And I think we have time for questions. So anything you ever wanted to know about Georgia Tech and never dared ask, this is your chance. And if I don't know the answer, I have a couple of colleagues here.
Questions?
I have a question. Roughly, are the percentage of students that are like in-state Georgia people, United States, outside of Georgia, and international?
Thank you for asking that question. So we do 60% of our students in the undergraduate program. 60% are Georgia students. 30% from other states, 10% international. The selectivity also grows in the same direction. So it's hard to get in if you're a Georgia student. It's very hard if you are from Tennessee. It's crazy hard if you are from Germany. I mean, that's how it goes. But here's a little known fact, because sometimes people think, especially if you get the rejection letter, and sometimes there are head scratchers when you say, oh, are you kidding me? This kid that I know that is so smart and didn't get into Georgia Tech, how come? Little known fact. Because we're growing faster than any other university, we are the fastest growing university in the United States over the last decade. Because we're growing so fast, even though we have 60% in-state, 40% out-of-state, we're adding more Georgia students than any other. If you take the other 25 universities combined, the number of Georgia students has actually declined because of the demographic. Ours has gone up by over 1,000 students. So we're adding more seats for Georgia students than anybody else.
Other questions? Shirley?
I'm impressed with the fact that you have so many people here today, even, that have played such an integral part in building our businesses. My children started a little mailbox business many years ago, and it's highly, highly successful. And far more successful than theirs, although they're very successful. I know that Kimball has had Georgia Tech assist him, and many others. I just happened to stumble upon them in my work. I'd like for you to speak to the Apex program.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of the programs that we're running. So forever, we've placed students in the best companies in the country, and occasionally we had some students who would go on and create their own businesses. Even though we love to take credit for that, in reality, most of that they did on their own with whatever they learned at Georgia Tech. Now we have programs to help students become successful entrepreneurs. we have this CreateX program where students who may be intrigued about, hey, what does it mean to create a company? You sign up for this class, you take a class for credit, you learn about what it means to create a business. If you like it, then you join a team and you start working on a new product or a new idea. You present it to a panel. If they give you the thumbs up, we give you a summer internship to work for yourself. We don't pay as much as Google does. We want you to suffer a little bit, but you stay on campus and you're working on your idea. At the end of the summer, there is a demo day. Is a huge room with all this year we had 110 companies by students. The investors come in, VCs, angel investors, to see if they find something they want to invest in. And now we even have a fund that a very generous donor of Georgia Tech created a fund. It's a philanthropic fund in the foundation that can invest and make some equity investments in some of these companies. The companies, this is a relatively young program, it's about 7 years. The programs that have come out of this program, these are all student startups, are now worth north of $2 billion. And there is one of them that is our first unicorn, our first company valued at $1 billion or more. So we're working very hard to make sure. And we have a similar program for faculty. Faculty who sometimes come up with crazy new technologies in the lab, and some of them is, hey, this could really become a product with real value. We now have a program to encourage them to set up those companies. The fellow who made the multi-billion-dollar battery company still teaches class. He's now a very wealthy man. He still goes to work every morning and teaches his materials science class, which is fantastic.
Maybe one more question. Rex.
The fact that you mentioned that we're stakeholders across the state and our nation and world what Georgia Tech is doing is absolutely fascinating. We're in awe of what you're doing up there. We appreciate everyone who's technology, thought, engineering, all these wonderful things. And I understand there's a rumor trying to start a football team. Out of a lot of University of Georgia fans and alumni, we wish you well. Praying for you. No.
I saw that coming. I'm actually very excited. We have had a very rough 4 years of football, so be kind on us. But we finally recruited our very own Brad Key, a Georgia Tech alum who loves Georgia Tech and who's done a terrific job. We were back at a bowl game this year. We won the bowl game. We did lose to the College of Athens, but we gave them some help. So we're getting there. We're making it work. But I'll tell you one thing. So I think Jerry Morgan, president of Georgia, was here as well. We give each other hell in public as much as we can. It's very good. So we are always in all the substantive things that matter for our university. I can hear 99.9% of the time we are on the same side of the earth because we're both working on the same goal. In fact, University of Georgia, I don't know if you heard the news that they're trying to set up a new. This is not working very well. Maybe we just talk about. Yeah, there you go. University of Georgia is planning a new medical school, which is good because we need the physicians, and also it's going to elevate the research University of Georgia. And every time I'm asked by elected officials, it's like, love the idea, we need that, go ahead and support it. So yeah, we're delighted, but we'll continue to give them help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Dr. Cabrera touched on this just a little bit. You mentioned the word internship, and I will say research and engineering is wonderful, but your intense focus on internships and co-ops, where the rubber hits the road, tech kids get jobs, and you just don't meet many unemployed tech graduates. And this is going to be heresy from this room. But as a UGA grad and as a person who has a tech kid and 2 UGA kids, you you love both institutions. Jake Jones just had a mini stroke in the And I will tell you, much like you did, my oldest daughter Riley had a wonderful experience. Has great lifelong friends. She hadn't been on the payroll in a long time. She's employed, all of her, it's just a great situation. She met her husband there, so
Wow.
you all don't plant the love connection. No. That's a real thing. But again, she had a wonderful experience. I'm grateful for your leadership on behalf of the state and the impact you will have on the world. So, Dr. Hillenbrand mentioned polio. We are going to make a donation to Polio Plus in your honor as Rotary's effort to eradicate polio from the world. So today was a great program. We have some other good ones coming up. So please plan to be here, and all of our guests, come back anytime. We'd love to have you. So next week, we're going to have a program from the county at the Oak Custody Center, so plan to meet out there. February 21st, a long-running program of focusing on STAR students and STAR teachers. We're going to have that. We're going to focus on the Storytelling Festival on February 28th. And then on March 6th, we're going to have a program focused on mental health, which is our international president's focus for the year. It's going to be from Kim Jones, Executive Director of the National Alliance on Mental Health in Georgia. So again, mark your calendars, plan to be here. Hope you have a great rest of the week. So we're adjourned.